Hey all, welcome to Last Week in Exports. Jagat ji, another incredible week of stories. We've selected the 13 best stories, and Jagat ji, we've also changed the image generation model of the comics. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah.
On the first screen.
Comics, comics are always fun. If in this age of tension and pressure, if you can make somebody laugh, nothing like it.
Absolutely, sir. So let's get started. Jagatji, we have some incredible stories, especially ranging from India to China to the Northern Sea route, all of it waiting and ready for you. Let's start with the first story of the week. So, Jagatji, we had called it. This was literally a prediction, but basically, India's Q1 exports has shown a structural shift. This show we've been tracking for months. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, so Nikhil, good to be back after a week. And quarter one this year is total export growth of India is showing around 19%, right? So compared to last quarter, which is huge. And what is interesting is that consistently every month the growth is happening. And more interestingly, as you know, from day one we have been talking that there is a very strong need to diversify buyer base, particularly from US. So we see a huge jump in ASEAN, in Southeast Asian countries, 62%. 62% is just unbelievable. And this is quarter to quarter comparison of this quarter to last quarter. And it has touched now $14.6 billion. And Africa is also up by 53%. So that is also encouraging because Africa, there is a strong dominance of China. And if our growth is 53%, that is quite commendable. And Singapore more than doubled. Right. And NAFTA, which is North America, uh, basically Canada, US, and Mexico, that also grew by 2%. So basically, that is high base because we are already exporting a lot there and 2% growth, right? But I'm sure if we look at only US, it may be neutral, and Europe is 6% growth. So again, Europe base of India's export is high, so 6% is also all right. And so primarily now the growth is coming from Asia and Africa, and therefore I feel now we also need to give a push to Latin American markets. So Latin America should also then we will be achieving diversification of buyer base to away from US, which should be the goal, because again next 2.5 3 years are going to be very tumultuous between India and US. You are on mute, Nikhil.
Very interesting. Let's see how this goes. But the good sign I'm assuming for a lot of us is this, right? That diversification is sort of working. And yeah, I mean, let's see how this goes. And as an exporter, as Jagaji has been telling for years, I think, like, you can never be dependent on a single market. You will never know what happens, right? So let's move on to the next story, which is exports to China. Jagaji talking about diversification. I mean, how do you like our comic, Jagaji?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's perfect. And
So
that
that
the growth trajectory now should cross the screen also.
superb. So
Right.
it's jumped 64% in July. My God, what's going on?
Yeah. So again, we've been saying in our talks that there is a huge shift, particularly last 3 4 years, from low value low value add goods which India used to export, like commodities, bauxite and iron ore and raw cotton, to finished products like high value add goods and high value goods. So this time, this 64% growth in a month is led by mobile phone spare parts. You will be surprised. Mobile phone spare parts and telecom equipment, and these are exactly the two things which in 2014, 100% we were importing from China, in fact. So a lot of people still have been saying that the Apple phone which we make in India and the smartphones, the parts are coming from China. Yes, partly, but still we have also started exporting now some mobile phone parts and accessories to China, and also telecom equipment, machine tools, a lot of engineering goods, a lot of value add goods. So, and one thing is, if see, they have not yet opened up their pharma sector to us, and India is a leader in the pharma sector in the world, right? India's one of the highest exports is pharma. So, if they open up, imagine, I mean, they will. I think we will surpass US in exports. Right now, US for 50 years has been our largest export trading partner, but
Right.
I think we will surpass if pharma is opened in China.
I also feel China needs our pharma. Their pharma,
Oh
for
yeah,
whatever reason,
oh
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
work that well.
Yeah, yeah. In
So,
fact, Nikhil, I would like to also give this message to the listeners that, you know, mm, there are, see, China is now so much hungry for imports. Like their import last year was $2.58 trillion, right? And they have now started organizing exhibitions in China for import. Every
wow.
country organizes exhibition for export. They have now started organizing for import, and they have now started organizing exhibitions where only foreign company can keep their booth, and only
Wow.
Chinese visitors are allowed. So that the idea is that it is for sales in China. So I encourage Indian companies to take part in these exhibitions. We have always been taking part in exhibitions in Europe and US and Africa and Middle East, but we have never taken part in China because we always thought in China, they are exporting to India also. So what we will do? But no. So now it has started happening, and we should take participation in the exhibitions in China, so that not only the Chinese companies we can sell to, but even foreign companies who come to that, those expos we can sell to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very curious on how this goes, and yeah, let's see. Let's move on to the next story. Another huge win, Jagatji. Can see the smile on our faces in the comic. Mer- Merchandise export has hit $44 billion in July. Wow. And I don't think July also is a huge export month, right? Bigger months are coming in this year.
Correct, correct, absolutely. Yeah, because
So, can you
if
tell
you
us what's going on?
yes, if you would have seen this jump in April or May, we would have imagined, because many a times initial months happen like that. But coming in July, this is very encouraging, and it is actually, if you compare this year July to last year July, it is a 19.5% growth. So that is also huge. And month upon month, it, like in April it was 15%, May was 17%, you know June was 16%. So that trajectory of 15% average is being maintained, right? And if you see April to July, so April, May, June, July, 4 months, then it is averaging out to 17%, to 173 billion, right? However, the interesting thing is that in this story, US is still our largest market, right? In spite of all the turbulence, in spite of all the challenges. So imagine if there was no turbulence, if there was no challenges in US, imagine what would be the situation, right? And this momentum is holding despite the tariff challenges and the freight shocks. The freight shocks are heavy. The freights have gone skyrocketed, and still we are maintaining, right? So it's very commendable. I will really congratulate the entrepreneurs of India, and as well as the government of India, for creating
Yeah.
the ecosystem.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely incredible news. Let's move on to the next story. Gems. Jagatji, the lab grown prices have collapsed. What's going on? Diamond I thought was forever. Jagaji,
uh,
$388 to $71. Diamonds की
yes.
बारात बरसात हो रही है.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in fact, India's lab-grown diamond export. This is the first time, last month it has surpassed natural diamond sales in volume.
Wow,
First time,
wow.
right? So, and in fact, natural diamond exports has reduced a lot from like around 26 million carat in 2022 to 15 million carat, right? And lab grown prices, like, and that, so lab grown prices also have fallen because of heavy supply. Because what happens
Okay.
is that when there is a demand, then a lot of people enter the manufacturing sector, and that is exactly what has happened. So from $388 it has come to $71 per carat, right? So lab grown diamond is something like, I always joke that lab grown diamond is artificial intelligence and natural diamond is human intelligence. Right.
Jagatji, I want to ask a question to you about this. I had seen a documentary once. I forget the name of the documentary, where they were comparing the diamond prices, right? And one of the conclusions they arrived at was that it is nearly impossible to tell the difference between a good lab grown diamond and a natural diamond. Is that true?
That's true, it's true. See, that
So
is the
who would have
reason.
thought? Yeah. So that is the
Yeah,
reason?
yeah, yeah. That's the reason why lab grown sales has increased. A
Right.
common person, a layman, can never ever understand the difference. Only an expert can.
So Jagaji, in the documentary, they said even expert can't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because experts' definition also is different, but yeah, it is not easy, right? So
Right.
uh, that's how where the things are moving to.
So Jagaji, who would have thought that the solution for blood diamond, the things which
Correct.
happen in Africa, was actually just technological innovation?
Absolutely, absolutely. See the blood diamond has shifted to the laboratory.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right,
technology has pretty much solved that problem. Like,
right.
for $71, who will do all this?
Correct, correct.
Let's move on to the next story. Jagat ji, UAE. This is major news coming from the most conflict-prone region of the world. Has suspended trade and finance with Iran. So Jagat ji, what's going on here? I mean, you can see. Uh, I don't know. Strait of Hormuz looks like a forever war.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, what has happened is just yesterday. This there were two ballistic missiles which were thrown towards UAE, and nobody knows whose it is, right? So everybody is saying we don't know, but so these ballistic missiles and the maritime navigation issue, because again their ships were also attacked, and again nobody is claiming credit. Even Iran is not claiming that we did it, right? So it's very confusing. And so the impact of the financial transactions being stopped by UAE for Iran is what had happened in last 3 4 years. In fact, even more years, is that earlier is that a lot of Indian companies, even Chinese companies, were doing trade with Iran via Dubai. So there was a transshipment, there was a documentation change, there was a switch BL kind of mechanism, and now that is in trouble. So anybody in India who is doing Iran export via Dubai, you check your shipments and payments, because now the US customs is using AI to identify this transshipment aspect also, right? And and because now UAE has suspended financial transactions, so in any case, that will be tracked. Because how will they track that? This is coming from where? Sorry. So that's what has happened. So anybody doing that route has to be now very very careful.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next story. Commerce sits down for CBAM. We touched a little bit upon this last week also, Jagatji, which is the carbon issues. Can you tell us what's going on here? This is an
Yeah.
update for you all,
So
guys.
yes, so same thing. So last time you remember I was saying that we need to educate SMEs on the impact of CBAM, because that is the carbon emission verification which will have to be done. And so particularly for steel and aluminium exports to Europe, now that's so the embedded emissions data verification has to be now done in advance. So I think Ministry of Commerce is trying to take the initiative to educate exporters. But it has to be done at a very mass scale. So, and my I have always said that uh, our export promotion councils and Ministry of Commerce should actually run a 24 by 7 helpline, you know,
Hmm.
dedicated to CBAM. Why not? I mean, there is so much of technology today. AI bots are there today. Every technology is available, right? Just train an AI agent on CBAM. Train an AI agent on CBAM, and let anybody ask anything, and it can be answered, right? And but publicize the number or publicize the source where they can, because it is very difficult to reach a mass exporters, right? Uh, Physically. So electronically it should be done, and huge education needs to be done. Otherwise, suddenly all this growth in exports you will see falling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on to the next story. The trade deal keeps its traffic tariff safeguarded. Jagatji, what's going on here?
Yeah, so here also same thing. So if, see, every day, even yesterday, uh, the U.S. administration said we are ready to sign the trade deal with India, right? But but the question is India ready, right?
Right.
So Indian point of view is that if Washington changes any agreed duties, then India will also have the right to modify its commitments, because we,
Correct.
against a concessional duty, we are giving commitments, and if they
Right.
change, so why we would not change, right?
Correct.
So we are saying that if you change on agreed duties, which is happening every day now, 50%, then 12.5%, then 10%, then you know for deforestation rule or CBAM or whatever. I mean, these are all kind of non-trade barriers as well. So we will also be reneging on the commitments, right? So that was the February clause, which is likely to carry into the final pact, and also I'm sure India will only sign. We have withstood the most difficult phase. Now we should stick to it, and we should sign only if when we have a trade preference vis-a-vis our competitors. Otherwise, what's the
Correct.
point? I mean, if trade is not going to increase, what's the point to give away a
Right.
lot of commitments which are actually partly harmful to India?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see, I think the reason they have done this is obviously to, counter the volatility of the current administration, and I think volatility of future administrations, right, Jagatji?
Absolutely, because one thing, Nikhil, I have been saying always that it's not about President Trump. Now, this I think
Correct.
this is going to remain the foreign policy of US for decades. It doesn't matter which president comes. It doesn't matter which party comes to power, Democrats or Republicans. This is going to, because they have tasted the blood, right? They have seen that nobody is opposing whatever they are doing. Nobody can. I mean, such is the world situation, and so it's going to continue. Doesn't matter who comes. So we should be ready for not just this term of the administration, but for forever now.
Let's move on to the next story. Energy, Jagatji, tanker exports have been surging. What's going on here? This is a
Yeah,
surprising news.
yeah. So India's tanker exports has surged like sixfold to $1.3 billion only in the quarter one
Wow.
3 months, right? April, May, June. and and you'll be surprised that our highest export out of 1.636 billion is $900 million to UAE,
Wow.
right? And it has risen from 10 to 23 vessels, right? And the Gulf, particularly the entire Gulf demand. Just give me one moment.
So, Jagatji, just a question
Sorry,
while you
sorry,
think about this. So, there's some disturbance. Yeah, yeah.
just a moment.
Is there sudden rainfall? Jagatji,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
there sudden
yeah.
rainfall at your place?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
Wow.
it was a
Okay.
big burst. Yeah. Okay, so the Gulf demand for the Indian-built tankers is rising, which is a signal for the shipbuilders and marine component suppliers in India. So
Mm-hmm.
UAE was always a big market, but this growth is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sixfold growth. So they should take advantage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's move on to the next story. Food, Jagaji, the July Agri found buyers in a lot of new markets. You have been pushing for this, and I think it's going to the right place. Fresh and processed food, the shipments have been growing up. So, what's going on? What's the story behind this?
Yeah, so this is a good strategy. It should have come very long time back, but it's better late than never, right? So what has happened is government is giving support to the entrepreneurs for such products which have not been exported ever, number one, and or not been exported to a particular country ever. So what happens when you do this type of a thing? It is called like charm marketing, or introductory marketing. So you introduce something. I remember about 12 years back there was a first time Indian mango food show happened in Japan, in Tokyo, and there were almost 30 varieties of Indian mangoes, and there were a lot of. I mean, it finished before the time by which, the mangoes finished before the time of the show. So and then onwards our mango exports has been rising. So that way, see, first time Amrapali mangoes have been shipped to Dubai. Cherries and plums, which is from northeast India, has been shipped to UAE and Singapore. Very interestingly, French fries, which again, there was a time we were importing French fries, were exported to Iraq first time. Then there is Lakadong, again from northeast. Lakadong turmeric was exported to Singapore, and from Bihar, makhana exported to Canada first time. So in bulk basically. So all this, what happens when you do this? Your goods are in the market, people get a taste, and it is something new, it is something different which has not been coming from India, and people, when they get a taste of this, then the demand will increase. So that's a very nice development. I hope every month some 4 5 such products stories should come, that first time that particular product is being exported to a particular country, and over a period of time it will build momentum, and exports for those products, not only in those countries but elsewhere also, will grow.
Absolutely. Jagatji, another route which we have been telling this, there'll be a lot more routes opening because of all the Hormuz issues. What's going on here? A new Northern Sea route.
Yeah, so this is the Russia's northern sea route, and India sent its first cargo ship there, and it was, so this is Chennai to Vladivostok cargo, and this segment export growth has increased by 70%, and there is this small region called Archangel, right, in northwest of Russia,
Mhm.
and where Vina River is there, near to White Sea. That region's mayor is in talks with India on shipbuilding, and port use for the Arctic corridor. So, if this works out, this will be a like kind of an insurance to the Strait of Hormuz, because then the oil will flow, and the two-way trade can increase between Russia and India. So uh, it will be interesting to see how this route develops.
Perfect. Let's move on to the next story. So Indian EV exports hit $369 million. Q1, I mean, Jagatji, I think I had discussed this with you once. I told you that I
Yes,
feel Indian EVs, I don't know, they're pretty good. At least the two-wheelers and some four-wheelers also. I wonder why we're not exporting. So what's happening here?
yes, and the last time we were discussing it was very low, but
Yeah,
2 years back. But then
yeah.
last year it was $22 million, and this year is $369 million. That is 16
Wow.
times. That is
Wow.
16 times growth, and 1,572% growth. Uh,
Jagatji, I mean, I have a question. Export Fundas is reporting it. Why isn't the government talking about this?
Yeah, I mean, no. So this is all, this is market intelligence, and this is our network of contacts, and also
Huh.
data, right? So data analysis, I always say, data is the new oil, right? If you
Yeah,
know how to mine data, if you know how to analyze data, that is more important. But then you
absolutely.
attach a story to it. So the story is our podcast, right? So data mining, data analysis, and the stories. The story is our podcast. That is how the more and more people will come to know about it. So let me tell you some figures, Nikhil. So last quarter we did 1,310 electric vehicle export from India, and this year it is 10,800.
Oh my God.
And let me tell you, let it be on the record. Let me tell you, and let it be in the record here. We will review this next year. This 10,800 will touch 100,000
Oh, wow.
within a
Music to my
year.
ears.
Mark my words. And surprisingly, you will be surprised. You know who took these EVs? Spain. 40% of these 4,000 went to Spain vehicles. $146 million. UK, second largest, $78 million. We are talking of developed markets, and this is actually, if you see, we are beating Chinese to this, right? So it's a very interesting news and huge development, and I think that in India we need to adopt EVs faster, right? So I'm sure the EV infrastructure in Europe is very strong. That could be one reason that exports is growing, but we need to set up the EV infrastructure in India also, in terms of storage, and also recharging stations, and longevity of the battery. So this is interesting.
Oh, let's see. And I also feel because our EVs, look, China has the cost advantage and all of that, but our EVs have withstood Indian conditions.
True, 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 true. Oh
they'll
yeah,
they'll run anywhere.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so sir,
Yeah,
I
India.
feel, huh? Go ahead.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
No, no. Right, right. Carry on.
So I have one small sort of comment to make here that
Yeah.
in product exports, a lot of countries started off with making cheap goods and then slowly improved their quality to become more and more durable. So Japan went through that. That's where they gave the world Toyota and Honda, right? The longest lasting cars, durable and all.
Correct.
And China seems to be going through that, right? They're improving from cheap manufacturing to better to good. So India is such a market that by the time a manufacturer is ready to export, his durability will be already tested. So from day
Correct.
one, his vehicles will be kick-ass. That's
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the
Because
reasons why I feel. Yeah,
yeah, the road
go ahead.
conditions in India. I mean, I think it is a benchmark for testing, right?
So
And
I
the
don't know
kind of
about other things, but durability will be first class.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. And the
So,
kind of traffic rules and regulations we follow, I mean,
yeah,
it is said, no, it is said that if you can drive in any city in India, you can drive in Mars very easily. Right? I
let's.
mean, anywhere in the world, not only the earth, but beyond also.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next story. So telecom is one of those sectors which doesn't get a lot of news, Jagatji, but some huge movement happening here. What's going on?
So, it is interesting. So, today India has one of the cheapest telecom rates, right? The more than, I think, 1 billion smartphones in India, and our 65% population is below 35 years of age and 100% digitally literate. So, but we imported most of the telecom equipment, and we imported from China. Even today, we do. So, in a way, China has been responsible for India's telecom growth. For that cheap cost to be able to, and that is one reason why the digital payment transaction, almost 49% of the entire world's digital transactions are done in India, right? But the potential for telecom and network equipment export from India is $50 billion by 2035, right? And still we are importing a lot from China, but there is a potential. And the when I say potential, the gap is for component makers in India, right? So the same way like what has happened with Apple, that so a lot of components were imported, but slowly that supply chain is being built in India. So same way is the story of telecom equipment also, beyond mobile phones, and also the network and the whole paraphernalia which follows that particular segment.
Superb, superb. Let's see what goes on with this. Let's move on to the next story. Jagatji, a huge prediction. It's possible that in the engineering services space, 8x. What's going on? 8 times growth. That's just absolutely massive.
Yeah, so again, engineering services, this is what I've been saying, that service sector. So if you see last year, our total export was $863 billion, but out of that, 442 billion was, merchandise products, and 418 or $19 billion was services. And out of that, 80% was IT services. But then 20% non-IT is itself a big chunk, in which almost $13 billion was engineering services, right? So in 10 years, our engineering services exports has grown by 8 times, right? So, and this is Reserve Bank of India's report is there, which says this is like a 23% compounded annual growth rate for engineering
Wow.
services export. So, for exporters, engineering design and consulting is a very fast growing export line, right? And this is one sector which will create huge jobs for India. Why? Because the we have, if I have not done the count, but I mean, I don't know. We should do that sometime. That how many engineering graduates graduate from India every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many of them get job? If we can find out, then I think engineering services would be something which perhaps would absorb a lot of people, just like IT absorbed. The way IT sector absorbed jobs for the Indian economy, because BTech, all those BTech saw computer software engineering guys and computer engineering guys, they got same way. Engineering services could be the next boom if we really pay attention to it, and we aggressively government of India markets this. I must admit, so far what I see from government of India's initiatives, that there is a strong focus on merchandise export, but actually we need to give a stronger push to services export. That is our core competence, right? In any case, we have targeted, I think, by 2030, or to be a $2 trillion exporting economy, right? And the kind of growth we have seen in last four months in India in this financial year, we will cross 1.1 trillion this year, right? And so 2030 is 4 years down the line. It should not be difficult. But out of the $2 trillion exports, $1 trillion has to come from services. So you will have to double it. Right now it's $419 billion. If we are talking of 1 trillion, then services export. So beyond IT, growth will have to come from non-IT sectors also. Of course, IT will keep growing, But non-IT services, architectural services, accounting services, legal services, medical services, there are 82, Nikhil, there are 82 services which India is exporting, right? And so just like this story of engineering services, more and more services. And I always tell entrepreneurs that, attach a service to the product. Even
Yeah.
when you are in a merchandise business, product
Yeah.
business, attach a service. There are a lot of services which you can attach, which is innovation, which is warehousing, which is design, which is, appointing a sales agent, or so many things. So e-commerce as a service to your merchandise business. and
Yeah.
and there will be a we will be able to achieve that goal, I think before what we have targeted.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think this is something which, because of the IT space, there is managerial talent for any sort of exporter to quickly hire. How do you deal with a client? How do you set up the right systems and process for exports? I think the managerial talent pool is also quite large. I mean, what do you think, Jagatji?
Yeah, absolutely. See, that's what the same. Let us do one session actually. Maybe next time we should take it up, Nikhil. That let us do on two parts. That on one side, how many engineering graduates are graduating in India, and how many getting jobs, and how many management graduates are graduating in India, and how many
Right.
of them are getting placed, and what is the gap. So
Right.
management education in India is also becoming quite mature, and our managers and our managerial talent is known in the world, and that is why you see companies like Google and PepsiCo, and what so many of these companies have Indian CEOs. See, an Indian CEO is all about managerial capability, right? It is not technical aspect. You have to manage the whole company. So many today, there are 30 American large Fortune 500 company CEOs which are of Indian origin. So that itself speaks volumes of the Indian managerial talent, right? So
Yeah.
we should nurture that and see that how these two streams can actually earn foreign currency for India.
Absolutely. So there you have it, guys. These were all of the stories. See you all in the next week. Keep exporting. Bye.
These
Bye,
cartoons
Jagat.
are wonderful, Nikhil. These are like I can relate who are these two people.
So there you have it all.
Good
See you
job.
in our next episode. Bye.
Okay. Okay.